on into the draft right here that we need to find out where Cruzeiro line up here. If they're able to make a good stab at Flamengo, then we're going to be pretty excited by their prospects as we go further and further ahead. But if it is just one of those games where Flamengo look completely dominant, then maybe our expectations subside a little bit. And yesterday as well, Flamengo, correct me if I'm wrong here, dear, went up against who did we just see win? I'm spacing out.
INTZ.
INTZ. They went up against INTZ yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And INTZ looked incredibly strong that game as well. So I'm really excited to see how their sort of turnaround and performance adapts after now that they've picked up a win for themselves. But back to the game at hand here. Flamengo obviously coming away with the victory yesterday, but they were maybe a little bit shaken by the power that INTZ were able to put out. And actually, okay, this is something that I wanted to really be talking about here, the Gragas first picks. Across in LCS, we saw a series yesterday where TSM versus Team Liquid were just hard prioritizing Gragas for every top laner. And it turned out Gragas, the didn't have a 100% win rate, but was so pivotal in top lane. And I want to see if that seeps over into the CBLOL here and whether these teams start to prioritize it just as much as the LCS do. With Gragas being picked up, obviously, we've got those fairly traditional red side bans, Akali, Pantheon, and this time Talia, leading to the Graves and Aphelios pickups for Flamengo.
I think this is actually the same lock-in that we saw just a few games ago. Graves Aphelios priority. This was where Akali just was not picked at all.
Yeah, we were losing our minds.
Yeah. This time though, Akali banned the Gragas, as you say, quite interesting in its own right. But we are going to get another Aphelios Samira matchup if Cruzeiro Esports have their way, and they do.
Yeah, so we're going to be able to see once again what the pairing is down on the bot side of the map. This time, Flamengo leaving a few resources unanswered for now. There's still that pairing of Aphelios Lulu that is a possibility. We've seen it come around a few times here and there, and there's always a possibility that we get it once again just to really enable the Aphelios and, also maybe potentially the Gragas here. And with the Ori as well, that's a lot of shielding power if they opt into that one, but I'm expecting a tanky support.
This is literally the same round one as last game. This is the same, or was it? Wait, was it last game? It was Kaboom versus Loud,
it was.
Yeah,
it was Thresh and Aphelios round one, I think, and then they picked up Graves third, I think.
Oh yeah, it was already on a third pick last game because no Akali. Yes, yeah, okay. I'm losing my mind here. Just watching Orianna be blinded over and over, but it does make sense. I mean, it is a safe pick that has not lacked performance just yet. I almost prefer the Zoe. But we will have the chance now to see what Cruzeiro do pick as a counter.
Zoe just more often finds the highlight reels, right? She gives you that one-shot burst moment that is always entertaining to watch, where the times that you find an Orianna Shockwave, I'd say, has higher highs, but are fairly few and far between, where Zoe just chunking somebody to 70% HP happens so often.
Yeah, it happens almost every game, and you can pretty much rely on that to be a consistent source of your DPS. We've already seen that today. With a Hecarim hitting the Rift, though, into Graves, I am a little bit concerned once again for the front line of the red side, because we had this problem last time, and it ended up going okay, but you've got to have some sort of that tank engage ability right now that Flamengo do not have in the first round.
So a lot of teams actually recently are favoring compositions like this, where you go quadra carry comp, which is just carries in every role except the support role, basically, and you just pray to God that you out team fight them, because relying on 2 sources, even 3 sources of DPS sometimes just isn't enough to be able to cut through people quite as efficiently as obviously that quadra carry composition. And Gragas as well, one of these tanks that sort of doesn't quite fit the brief, because if he goes tank, he still does so much damage up against Aphelios. Going to be this immobile ADC, could definitely be exploited, especially with an Alistair Hecarim dive comp as well.
Yeah, well, this rumble is giving me a little bit of spice, though. It's going to be our first one of CBLOL, and that is quite the dissuasion for some folks, especially people like Samira and even Hecarim. All the people that have to follow up right now are going to be able to be cut off by not only Rumble, but Oriball. There's a lot of zoning on Flamengo.
There is a lot of zoning, and that is really important to mention because Cruzeiro Esports here, they've just gone full unrelenting aggression. They've picked 5 champions that go forward. Going backwards, they have not nearly the same amount of success here. So Cruzeiro, they just have to continue to engage time and time again. And Flamengo are just going to be sat back. And I think that they actually could have gone something like Lulu, like Jana, like
Hmm.
to dissuade all of the engage here and maybe had just a little bit more power because Alistair in lane, yeah, it's you pick Alistair for team fighting. You don't pick Alistair for your laning phase. Maybe up against or with a Samira, there's a possibility that
Mm.
you can go aggressively, but something like a Janna or a Lulu here would have just fit so much, so nicely into their composition, and especially into Cruzeiro and what they want to achieve.
Yeah, this is nice for Flamengo, arguably, to have a source of engage, but could have gone with something alternate in this draft. We will have everybody locked in, though. We're getting the Silas mid up against the Orion, which will be able to steal away some of the more important zoning tools here. I think it's worth mentioning that Silas with a Rumble ult is going to be pretty scary.
Hmm.
And is going to be able to return a little bit
Agreed.
of the favor, especially onto Aphelios.
And right, so the nature, of course, of this composition that Flamenco are trying to put down here is that they're going to be the ones that need to be set up and in position for objectives for fights. Because if they're not, then they have no way of getting in. All right, so they've picked the Leona to try and find their beginning, and they're going to be using it'll be Equalizer into Solar Flare as their engage, which are kind of weird engage tools here to be using. Leona less so, but using those obviously ultimates to try and find their way in. But Cruzeiro are just going to be just unstoppable in their engages. Just going to go forward every single time they can, and it's going to be on Flamenco to disrupt those engages and try and stop them, and then re-engage in their own right.
Yeah, and that's something with a pretty high barrier of execution. But if
Yep.
anybody can do it, Flamengo have shown us that they are up to the challenge and are going to be trying and giving us a little bit of a new style today. As they also had the Gragas yesterday, interestingly enough. Now we're going to get to play into that, and I wonder how Rumble Gragas will go.
I would imagine actually that Parang's going to have a fairly decent time of it. The obviously Flamespitter versus Melee Champion's going to tend toward a successful laning phase for the Rumble here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more interested actually by the Keystone, or not the Keystone, but the Mythic that we see from the Rumble. I see deviations between Night Harvester and the Omnivamp Riftmaker. So there's 2 ways that you can go with it. I am more favored and more partial, at least, to the Night Harvester, because I feel like Rumble in his own right
Huh.
typically does. Yes, he stays in combat for a while, but Night Harvester just gives you that ability to be really annoying in the early stages, and also just chunk somebody with a electro harpoon, and you can like set up poke really weirdly with a Rumble setup.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it does seem nice for the ultimate specific. I was actually curious, does his ultimate technically count as a projectile?
Uh, Not in the sense. No, it doesn't.
In the
It's not.
Samira sense, is my
No,
question.
yeah, in the Samira sense, no, it's not.
Okay.
It's like a carpet bomb. It comes from the top, not from the sides, I
Yeah,
guess.
one cannot prevent it, which is good because it would be really upsetting to have that stuffed by a single ability here, as so many ultimates really can be.
Just think how sad Broms are these days.
Dude, I know. I used to play so much Braum, but this season, I'm telling you, dude, it's the season of the Sivir. That's what I'm on right now.
No.
I've actually been on Sivir so much ever since our fateful game where I realized that ADC is garbage, and I realized that if anybody is going to play a useless role, it's got to be me.
Okay, so you're just on R duty, right? That's what you
Yeah,
do.
that's exactly what I do.
Now imagine that, but imagine you're playing Jhin instead, and your ult does 1,000 damage, and you have a W as well.
That's true.
Crazy,
That's true. I could do that.
crazy.
I could also try out the Samir. The Shuriman 80 carries are maybe not universally strong, but at least Samir has got the power that Sivir might be missing.
Yeah, we'll stick you in a Samira duty, maybe in a normal game before we
Holy.
test it out in the duo queue.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
Is it ranked ready? It's ranked ready.
It's
Okay,
ranked ready. It's
I
ranked
trust
ready.
you.
I've prepared it as such as the Rumble up here very clearly ranked ready. Trucklox is not having a good time right now, exactly as you predicted.
Yeah, and I mean it's it's exactly how we're expecting this top side matchup to go in the early game. That Parang is just going to sit here, wail on him with electro harpoons, with flame spitters, and just have the ability to constantly keep the Gragas not only at range but also at a lower HP bar. The good thing with Gragas is that, of course, he's got that passive which heals him up every time he uses a spell. So, well, not every time, but also is on a cooldown. But you can see that the laning phases for Flamenco are actually going to be fairly nice because the majority of the lanes are going to be winning. So Flamenco should be able to set themselves up with a good advantage, and you can see that already. Ranger going to get double crab and also put Sting a little bit further behind in the jungle clear. You can see Graves, they're equal on camps in terms of the ones that they've killed, but Ranger has got his Krugs and also his blue to pick up. It's a pretty weird path that he's picked up, but picking up those double crabs set you up for success, even though he might be down in tempo for a little bit here.
Yeah, it's earned him the double scuttle and importantly denied that from Sting. Now level 3s are hitting the bot side though, and Hawk hanging out in the bush, maybe looking for a way in here, as the Samira always does bring a little bit of volatility.
Exactly, and if we do see Hawk go on in, then there's always that world where we're expecting the Samira to jump in, but you can just see that Cruz. The thing with this matchup is that Alistair can never engage onto the Leona for fear of this Aphelios just going absolutely ham in the fight in the bot lane. So it's really important to use as the support, use your cooldowns on the ADC because otherwise they just go off and they do easily win the 2v2.
Yeah, you've got nothing else left to give really outside of the trample that will give you that delayed stun, and it's not really enough to rely on, especially when you got to close the gap onto somebody whose whole job is to not let you close the gap. Right now, we're panning back to this top side that is utter suffering for Trucklax. Not what he expected out of the Gragas pick, I'm sure.
I'm actually happy that Flamenco have this counter pick ready. This is it's just exemplifying the standards that Flamenco are at and how far ahead of well, not the rest of the curve, but how far ahead of these weaker teams they are. Ranger though could be in trouble.
Yeah, bot lane's missing, and he knows it. Flash forward from Hawk is
Oh.
answered with a flash from Ranger, and he gets away, burning a cooldown.
No, that's really big actually. Ranger recognizing the WQ flash possibility, setting them up for success. But Redbird now, he's on a flank.
Yeah, you get to collapse as a couple with Tuts rotating from the mid lane. Hawk burns down. First blood goes over to Absolute and Flamengo. They reverse the trap here. Now Sting with the flash over from Redbird should be dead. Ranger might be able to pick up this kill, but Tuts grabs the other one and will set himself back to that 1 kill, 1 assist mark that the other carry is.
Beautiful stuff there from Flamenco. I can't exemplify or answer enough how big that flash from Ranger was because Hawk did a really sort of hidden Alistair combo where you WQ, but you know how you can Q flash on Alistair, input the buffer, and try and catch people off guard? Ranger wasn't fooled by it. It's one of those things that it's really difficult to preempt because typically you just see them and you think they're whiffing, and then all of a sudden they've flashed on you and you're dead. So the fact that Ranger gets away to safety and these winning lanes that we talked about, you can see roaming on the map first, it's Orianna. He's ready and already there to try and support the team. Also, we don't have to hold it. Tuts is just going to get a nice sombrero.
Oh,
Gets out.
very nice sombrero. It is rare that I see a sombrero that I enjoy, but that was a very heads-up play from Tuts, canceling the knock-up from Sting.
Okay, but now this opens up a window, right? Nosferos has got the stolen Orianna ulti. No flash on Tuts means that he's exposed, right? That chain hits. There's no way of him breaking that gap, and the shockwave going to pull him back in even further. Would love to see a return gank here, and now we need to see some really good vision set up from Ranger, from Tuts, from Redbird as well, to set up the play and make sure that the Orianna is going to be safe in this mid lane, because Silas, no slouch in a 1v1.
Yeah, I like that Parang hears you, and he goes, well, I mean, I know that everybody else could set up vision, but I want to participate as well. Goes in, finds Sting in the jungle, and forces the sweeper out. It's not a huge cooldown, but going in and getting that vision repeated isn't always going to be able to be cleared out.
No, exactly. It's one of those things where you get the vision while you can, and obviously picking it up right there, going to set him up for a nice little bit of success. Ranger now getting a bit aggro with the Graves. I like this. Using Graves to his fullest extent. But actually, looking for a fight here. Sting going to try and capitalize.
Big chunk Onslaught of Shadows comes in, and Ranger in a lot of trouble right now. No shockwave on the Orianna, but Parang has arrived with the teleport, cleans up one with Sting, and the harpoon is... I was waiting for it to come off cooldown, but I guess not wanting to continue that one, and you seem to agree, so go ahead and enlighten me.
There was no way they were getting that kill. Silas has flash. He's
Mhm.
gonna have dash up in maybe 4 seconds or so. You use cooldowns there. It's just wasted cooldowns. I really like that he held the equalizer as well. It opens up for this potential Drake fight, which we typically see in CBLOL. That it's normally about a minute or so ago where we'd have seen the Drake taken. But equalizer still up for a neutral objective fight is going to be really big for them.
Hawk burns his cooldowns onto Redbird, and I clench for a moment there as a very nice backstop actually might be the end of Nosferus there, and it is, even with the flash available, does not respect the damage.
He just goes fishing, finds himself a Whopper, and gets a free kill on Nosferus, who caught window shopping, still has the flash available, didn't expend that cooldown. But Orianna 2-0-2 right here, free farming, picking up the tier as well. Going to be setting up those stacks going off. This Orianna is incredibly far ahead of the Silas now, has got a level lead, has got a CS lead as well. Double kill as well for it. This mid lane matchup for Flamenco is going beautifully.
And it's not the only matchup that's going that, where everything but bot lane has really exploded, and even bot lane right now is in a very happy spot, being up the single kill, giving them a small buffer between the matchups, and Ranger has secured himself the Rift Herald right now and could convert that into an even more tangible top lane lead. Everything could come up Flamengo.
They could maybe kill this here. The burnout though, silence from the own Rumble Pass is definitely going to be
Oh, this
a
is
bad
scary.
spot. Cruzeiro, that this should be a double kill. No TPs, or actually TP on Tuts actually.
Wave hasn't
Really nice
crashed
engage.
just yet. This is really nice from Redbird, buying a lot of space for his AD carry. Absolute gets to clear out the wave, gets to stick around.
Okay, so really nice execution from both teams right there. I want to commend Redbird. He actually defends his ADC pretty well by just sacrificing his life. Dashes in and actually holds the wave, which means that Absolute is able to stay underneath this turret, going to be able to farm up. And then on the top side, using the Herald, not quite to its fullest extent, don't quite get the turret from it, but they get a load of plates in their pocket as well. So more gold in the Graves, more gold in the Rumble. Going to mean that these two carries are going to be in a nice position. Of course, with all this topside priority, I imagine Flamenco are expecting to lose the Dragon for it, but Cruzeiro here, they're a bit hesitant to go forward.
Yeah, they don't want to overextend into an area where Parang could be. Now with him showing on the top side, they know that he's not coming back with the equalizer. There's no contest going to be had here. Start up the Dragon, and that's going to be pretty nice onto quite a few members of Cruzeiro, especially Hecarim, of course, benefiting from the bonus move speed. But you're not particularly sad about this as Flamengo. The early game has gone basically all according to plan.
Yes, they will have been expecting this to have happened about 30-40 seconds ago. They would have expected it pretty much the second the bot dive failed. They would have gone, okay, let's go Drake. Hawk!
Oh,
Yeah.
unfortunate that that didn't happen. It would have been so beautiful, and it was a really nice attempt from Hawk to perform the little skill check there, even if it didn't work out.
No, it is one of those. I love skill checking, and just the respect from Absolute needed to come out right there. And I love that Hawk with the Hex Flash just goes, "Hey, I don't need this summoner spell, dude. You need yours way more." Flashes over the wall. That is 100% worth for Cruzeiro right there. This ADC who lacks mobility innately, and then also has now no flash, gonna definitely struggle to continue for the next 5 minutes. And you can
Sting's
see
down here to
Sting
punish with
already.
the Onslaught of Shadows comes out
Yep.
instantly, and the knockups onto Aphelios keep him from participating in the game. Ranger has roamed down to try and make the best of a bad situation, but realizes that the best that's going to come of that is just a pink ward, and will back away.
Perfect. Hawk, he had Hex Flash. He's able to close that gap still. Aphelios, however, not quite the same luxury. Cruzeiro finally putting themselves out across the map here. They've reached their level 6 marker, reached a few items as well, a few components, setting themselves up for success, and they're starting to try and brutalize this bot lane where they should now start to be able to funnel in some advantages.
Yeah, if they continue to bring Sting down towards here, it is going to create a problem for Flamengo, where they're really set up to make things happen, to keep the abuse going everywhere else. But paying attention towards the bot side is something that is going to come at a big cost, and is going to take a lot of gear shifting from Flamengo.
It is, and they have focused quite significantly on their top side, I suppose, to begin with Herald going in on the top lane and allowing Parang to pick up those plates along with the Graves. And Oriana, I think, to be honest, Tutsi has been fairly self-sufficient in the mid lane. He sort of generated his own leads,
Hmm.
picked up his own CS, and managed to just outlane Nosferos right here. And in terms of the matchup, that is what we're expecting. But losing gracefully, and it's a perfect example from last game compared to what we're seeing here. Tutsi is so far ahead of Nosferos right now that we could see just a mid differential really be the difference maker this time.
Yeah, really could, especially with the Mythic already completed. One of two Mythics on the board right now and has been playing really, really well. Other person I want to keep an eye on, not because it's been this game. Oh, we might have to hold that point as Trucklax is in danger of dying. Has Parang and Ranger under the tower. The tower not particularly long for the world, and with Tuts roaming up as well. This is a very, very dead Gragas here. They chase him out from under the brick that is already falling. Tuts should be able to clean up this kill. Well, first tower is secured by the top lane jungle.
Did he flash there? What? Oh dear. Okay, well, Truxlax wasted his flash, but I guess bought a little bit of time. Actually, really nice from Flamenco to rotate away from the bot side. They spent a lot of resources top once, and the Aphelios tried to or got punished. This time round, they're not allowing them the opportunity. Yes, it's bad. PBO does net himself a couple of plates, a few little minions that the Aphelios would have definitely wanted. But overall, that's a huge play for Flamenco. I love that they walked up, and to begin with, they were quite happily with Truxlax just sitting there farming and being like, yeah, we won't hit you, we'll just take your turret. And then as soon as Truxlax tries to pump out damage back, they try and fight him. But in the jungle, Ranger going to be caught.
Ranger didn't get the flash off that time,
Ooh.
doesn't even get it overall, but Tuts comes in to clean up the kills and has the backup of Absolute, as you are way overcommitted in this jungle just for Ranger.
Yeah, the flamenco there, as soon as the Hecarim goes down, they're like, do you want this kill? Absolute. Hey, Parang, do you want it? No, Absolute. It's all you, dude. All you.
Yeah.
Aphelios picks himself up a nice double kill. They do get to kill Ranger, of course, and the shield from Oriana was just a second too late. Not at all a criticism on Tutsi, but just the travel time not quite there to keep the Graves alive right there. Quite surprising, actually, that the Hecarim and the Alistair had the burst to go through shield bow Graves. So, it shows that the state of Hecarim is still going to be able to pump out some damage and potentially one-shot any of these backline members as we do exceed into the mid-game phases right here. But overall, giving 2 kills to an Aphelios, definitely not the ideal situation. And Flamenco, just as it was starting to look a little bit worse for them, do set up a couple kills, and Cruzeiro right back at that deficit.
And you give 2 kills over to the Aphelios, who, as you were talking about PBO starting to come up, is going to be really nice and a big cushion, hopefully for a kill onto Sting. And Sting doesn't get that kill. Sting's 0, 3, and 4 right now. Hawk is the one with the kill. And it's going to cost you when it comes time to pay the piper around how much Sting can impact these team fights that should be starting off in very, like, right now.
Yeah, they're both looking for fights, but this is where Flamenco's comp kind of lacks here. They can't find the siege and they can't find their way in, so it's Cruzeiro that have positioning, and they're the ones that should be able to negotiate their way around the fight easily.
See if Flamengo do end up coming in for the steal here. Rangers on the side. Solar Flare does find Sting, but Hawk goes in for the disengage. Nosferos has the Rumble ultimate, so watch for that. Absolute zoned out from the fight right now. PBO goes in with the Inferno trigger, and Parang's own ultimate does come down to dissuade the rest of the team from the Dragon. Picks up 1 in Sting, but the rest of the team is well and away. PBO almost has another Inferno trigger right now, and the Aphelios is gone. Picks up Rangers very shortly as well, but doesn't quite find the last auto attack. Cruzeiro are on the hunt for it, and they find the team fight into Flamengo around the Dragon.
Yep, their composition just team fights better. They're able to find the fights more willingly. That those 2 engage tools that we talked about for Flamenco, not used together, and the rest of the squad didn't really step up because there's just no way in for the damage. Ranger steps up, he's going to get comboed by Alistair. Anybody steps up, they're going to get comboed. And with this Oriana, it's pretty difficult for her to get a nice shockwave off because you guessed it, she steps up, she gets comboed by Alistair, and everybody's just in sort of sat back waiting and kind of going, wait, can you engage? Can I engage? Can they engage on us? And the answer to that is Cruzeiro can absolutely engage. They've got it in spades. They are a 5-dive team, and they're just looking to use it again and again. Look at the damage that Flamenco are able to put out. Redbird steps up, and he just can't do anything in the front line up against it. Hawk goes in, so much dissuasion on the backside. Absolute has fired maybe 2 autos this entire time. Look at him, just sat on the backside, not really getting anything done, not getting anything done. Looking for autos, can't find anything, gets a Q. But then Silas in there, he's firing off these autos now, gets comboed by Alistair. It's just impossible for Flamenco to step up and engage because their comp just doesn't do it.
Yeah, they've got to be playing this kite back game. They've got to be the ones, I dare say, arriving at the dragon first.
That they do, and that is the point, that they need to be the ones setting up and being in the position to receive Cruzeiro. If they're not, then they're going to struggle to find their way in, and that was just the perfect example of it.
Yeah, now they're trying to edge their way in around the Baron, though. Could be, or sorry, not around the Baron, but the Baron's not here yet. Around Shelly specifically, with
Oh,
18
reset.
minutes on the clock. They do manage to get the reset there, and Flamenco will back away, but still don't have that positioning. And it's not going to be able to be found here. We've got 2 minutes 53 seconds until they can find that again. For right now, they've got positioning in the mid lane, and they're going to hold on to that.
Yeah, and they should be able to get this tier 1 right here. I mean, Truxlas and Nosfero are there, but they're 5 members strong here for Flamenco. And despite that fight, they're still 2,500 gold ahead. So they're still with that lead, with that advantageous item deficit, or threshold rather. You can still see Ori has that completed mythic already working her way nicely toward what is going to be that Archangel staff. So still plenty of firepower in the Flamenco squad. And even though they had a bad team fight, they're by no means out of this game.
Oh, absolutely not. They've got a lot of power to work with. And the Night Star was picked up for Parang. We didn't get to talk about it because you expected it, but it is the first time that I'm going to get graced with such an item, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, you just get a little bit of power with your chunks. Those harpoons you can see just dealing a little bit extra damage as well, and getting the extra Night Harvester proc across as many people as you can hit with your Flame Spitter and your Equalizer. The Night Harvester does get a lot of value from these AoE type champions because it does a proc off everybody.
I want to see if we can find a really nice equalizer this game because we saw two in that last fight,
okay.
and we saw two in the last fight. Nosferus is maybe not making me the happiest, but even Parang's inside the Dragon Pit itself didn't quite do the job that we're looking for. I want to see if we can get some nice shockwave equalizer action going on.
Okay, so something then to add to your point here.
Yeah.
We have an Infernal Rift, and this is one of the niche interactions, I suppose, here. But Rumble loves fighting people in chokes. What does Infernal Rift do? It destroys terrain and gives people more ways out of a choke. So in some ways here, the Infernal Rift, not really Rumble's favorite friend, despite the fact that he'll get extra damage. It makes it difficult for him to find ultis in those nice little alleyways that is going to, enable Rumble to the fullest extent. It's the same thing with Ori, same thing with pretty much everybody across Flamenco here. The big team fighting squad, if they're fighting in the jungle, might definitely struggle to find the angle.
They have found right now Trucklax, though, who's getting burst through and absolutely destroyed by the front load from Flamengo, as Shockwave did manage to pick him up, and it's right around this dragon. 35 seconds on that. He will be up by then, but Flamengo this time get first rotation.
Yeah, and that is going to be crucial. They're now going to be able to set up and be the first ones at this dragon, the setup potential that we've talked about being so important. Because if Cruzeiro are there, then there's just no way in for Flamenco. We did see those engage tools that they have nicely used as well, and actually using Moonlight Vigil to start off a fight or to follow up on a fight as well with the Gravitum ulti, definitely giving a little bit more priority into the Aphelios. But you can see with Drake spawning in just a second, really nice timing on this Rift Herald because Cruzeiro are going to be the ones pushing in as the Drake is already getting taken down.
Yeah, Drake is basically gone right now. Rift Herald does get a charge in the meantime, but Flamengo now have to find their way back into the mid lane. Hawk whiffs the engage, though, and Sting with the Onslaught of Shadows doesn't quite find the mark either. Now is being burned down by the Flame Spitter. Does manage to get away, but Cruzeiro have to be on the retreat as Flamengo need to get their way back into mid lane, and they do manage to find it.
Here comes the re-engage though. Oh, solar flare, not quite enough to find anything. But that you see what we're saying here with this composition, that Flamenco, if they can set up and they receive the engage and they're able to take it, then they're in such a good spot because they just turn right back around, pump out all of their damage in response. You saw Equalizer went down. They didn't even use Shockwave that fight. If that was there, that would have just been so handy for Flamenco to try and take the fight. I mean, it obviously hurts that Hawk missed the engage. The Tootsie was able to just get knocked over the wall and absolute flashed it, so there was no target for the Hecarim to follow up on. But you can see that every 5 minutes, that's enough for a flash timer to come back up for the Aphelios. As long as they're cognizant of when they're taking these fights and cognizant of these summoner spells, the Aphelios shouldn't really struggle too much. And if you can get away with flashing the engage every single time, then they're going to succeed and they're going to be able to win out this game quite easily.
Yeah, should be able to do quite well for themselves. if they can continue performing the way that they just did, because they're like Cruzeiro, we saw their own win condition, and it's not that much further away from them than it was earlier. This isn't a slap you with your wallet type of game yet, with only a 3k gold lead right now, and PBO ready with Collector and Immortal Shield Bow. So I do give Cruzeiro benefit of the doubt for at least a few fights, but Flamengo, like you're saying, do certainly have the win con available to them. Parang feeling very, very confident in this
Ooh.
bot side with Tuts as well. A nice sidestep will net him this turret.
Yeah, I think that they would have got the turret regardless of the beautiful side set, but Sting now caught, does use the onslaught of shadows and will be able to make his way to safety. But you can see they're trying to split the map here, or Cruzeiro, but fortunately, Flamenco are willing to use their TPs, use mid lane to really roam around the map, and Tutsi just going wherever he's needed right now, really playing that roaming role and being able to mop up the waves, mop up the kills, mop up the turrets, doing everything that the team need him to do.
Yeah, he's got the advantage to make this worth it as well, because he's not picking up that much CS by hanging out around like Parang in the bot side, but being able to move up to the top side and collect a little bit is going to keep that gap between him and Nosferos alive.
It is, and I want to actually quickly touch on Absolute right here and
Mm.
the build path that we've gone so far. We have seen Aphelioses typically tend toward a Gale Force just because of how strong that item is in its own right as well. And I think that building Kraken Slayer here is incredibly greedy, but if you can get away with it, then that is going to pay off for him because we've talked about how heavy the dive is from Cruzeiro. The Kraken Slayer here isn't going to help you in any way at surviving the engage. The Gale Force will give you a little bit of help in terms of making it out and maybe dodging out on the Alistair combo, dodging out on the Hecarimile ulti, or anything like that. We're gonna have to wait and see though, because if obviously Absolute has been positioning pretty nicely so far this game, but if one flash goes on top of him and he's not ready to respond with his own, then he's going to be in a predicament, and then he won't have the mobility, and that is when he's going to pay for it.
Yeah, and you have to play these fights on your terms and try to make the fight, if you are Flamengo, not about Absolute, so that he can take over.
That's what they're going to be looking to achieve as well with this push down the mid lane, playing a little bit of chicken here with Cruzeiro. They were like, well, Cruzeiro could go to the Baron, and they say, well, yep, go for it. You do it. We're going to take your mid lane. And Cruzeiro wisely back away. Don't try and bait them into that fight. But for the time being, of course, with Flamenco being in such a driver's seat, we are looking really toward the Baron to start accelerating our game. The Infernal Soul seems a fair distance off in the future here, probably about 12 minutes or so before even any squad starting to look toward that one.
Yeah, right now, game going to, I think, quickly become about the dragon, since everybody's playing very respectfully around the Baron. You see the not turn and burn by Cruzeiro, instead choosing to answer in the mid lane, and that's going to be the setup right now coming in around the Infernal, with even the reset from PBO to make sure that he's nice and bought up.
Yeah, getting the maximum strength out of the Samira. Always going to be ideal. I think this fight is going to dictate the game here. If there's a fight around this dragon, which I expect that there should be, it will dictate how the game continues to play out. If Flamenco get this one, they're going to get the Baron, and they're likely to really start running away with the game. Cruzeiro get this, they're right back in it, and we could start seeing a very tight 50-50. Neither squad, though, set up particularly nicely.
Solar Flare doesn't find its mark, though, and
Three-man
Nosferatu finds
grab.
himself without an ult. The Shockwave pulls back in Trucklax, but doesn't quite finish off the kill just yet. Solar Flare from Redbird almost finds him, but Parang is on the hunt, picks up Trucklax, and Nosferatu on the flank right now, looking for his way onto Absolute, but can't quite find it before the Alistair goes down. PBO needs to yeet himself away, and will do so. With Graves already on the Dragon, though, it seems like Flamengo want to convert this into a Baron instead.
Yeah, they should do. Just exactly as foretold here. Flamenco take the fight, they take the Baron, and they should be able to close out this game with it. There's still a chance here that Cruzeiro can put something in to try and stop this from happening. Nosferatu has TP, Samira and Hecarim are nearby, but they can just concede this Baron, and that may as well be a very large lead in the Flamenco's hand right here. Beautiful stuff to try and limit their engages and keep their lead alive.
That was a crazy fight, too, because going into that, I thought that we were going to get Cruzeiro throwing everything at the wall, but go ahead and break this one down for us.
Yeah, so you can see neither of the squads are particularly in a good position. Alistair Engage doesn't really hit anyone. Equalizer doesn't really hit anyone either. The key feature here is actually Absolute with the Gravita multi stopping 3 people, and then Parang's nice flash forward stops onto Truxlax, and Hawk here as well, I believe, goes in to try and find another Engage, but again, only onto Redbert, not the target that they're looking for. So the engages from Cruzeiro really just not finding the marker, and you can see that Flamenco playing beautifully. Just even though Redbert is still fairly squishy, leaving him and dangling him as the engage bait is doing more than enough for them to net themselves the victories in team fights.
Yeah, that was a convincing, resounding victory for Flamengo, where Cruzeiro not really able to find their feet. Now let's see what they can do with the Baron. Baron power play's got 2 minutes on it, and Flamengo, they have played the map pretty well so far. Right now we're grouping up as 4 in this top side, leaving Parang alone in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's important to remember that the Baron power play includes the 300 gold that every member gets for slaying the Baron. So currently they're actually negative in a Baron power play because you get 1500 gold for free. But you can see that they're starting to put some dints and damages down into the turrets. 2 cannon creeps working their way through the top one, as well as the Ophelio Sonori mid lane as well. These turrets are just getting crumbled, and Cruz, they have just this massive engage composition and they're hesitant to pull the trigger.
Yeah, your turrets are being absolutely destroyed by Tuts and Absolute in this case, and you've got to find some sort of angle here, but one mistake could cost you the game, and that's where the hesitance comes from. Barrel finds nobody there, and it's another tool missing from Cruzeiro. Hawk now the one that really needs to engage, but there's no real angle being given over. I like the positioning of Absolute and Tuts right behind Redbert, making sure that there's no angle to find the carries for Cruzeiro.
You can see as well that the entirety of Flamenco, until now, weren't particularly stacked up. They were sort of sat in a 5-man line. But here goes the engage. They find Aphelios.
Nice flash from Absolute, though, gets him out of trouble, and the response ult from Parang is devastating. 2 members go down, the 2 carries for Cruzeiro, and the same cannot be said for Flamengo. They are alive and well. The teleport is channeled. Flamengo look to end their 4th game of the season with a resoundingly convincing victory, as Absolute solos out Sting on the side, pads his KDA, pads his damage numbers, and they pad their own stats as a team by finishing off the game.
Really nice stuff from Flamenco right there. Looked a little bit dicey in the mid game when they had a bit of a rough fight in and around that dragon, but they learned from their mistakes. They adapted on the fly, and from then on out, it was pretty smooth sailing for them. One clean fight around the Drake netted them the Baron, netted them the game, and from taking a game off of Cruzeiro was expected here for Flamenco, but it's good to see that they're able to win and keep on continuing their winning streaks.